The McLaren F1, the car that redefined supercars. Most people think they know what made the McLaren F1 special. They've heard about its speed, its million-dollar price tag, and its fancy V12 engine. They know it was the fastest car in the world back in the 90s, and that it came with an exotic, futuristic design. But if you thought you knew everything about Gordon Murray's masterpiece, you are wrong. What you didn't know is that the McLaren F1 was packed with bizarre engineering choices and strange features that even the most dedicated car enthusiasts have never heard of. In the next few minutes, you'll discover 20 weird facts about the 1992 McLaren F1 that will completely blow your mind, including one that involves a 20-year-old computer laptop that McLaren still uses today. The driver's seat, positioned at the heart of the car. One of the first things that catches your attention when you look at the McLaren F1 is the central driving position. It might seem outlandish, but Gordon Murray's decision to place the driver smack in the middle of the car wasn't just a quirky design choice. It was the result of careful calculations. Murray knew that placing the driver centrally would provide perfect weight distribution and eliminate the typical compromises that come with left or right-hand drive configurations. In a McLaren F1, there are no blind spots. From the central seat, the driver can see equally well on both sides, which makes maneuvering through tight corners or judging narrow bridges far easier. The two passenger seats are positioned slightly behind the driver, giving them a clear view ahead without obstructing the driver's peripheral vision. This arrangement wasn't just unique, it was revolutionary. No production car before or since has replicated this exact configuration. Ferrari tried something similar with the F50, but they ultimately chickened out and stuck with conventional seating. Even today, hypercars like the Bugatti Chiron and Koenigsegg Jesko still use traditional seating. Murray's design wasn't just about looking cool, it also saved McLaren millions in development costs. Since the central seating layout was used globally, the F1 could be sold in any market without modification to the driving position. Japanese customers, British buyers, and American collectors received the same car. The fact that the F1 could be sold globally without modification saved McLaren millions of dollars while giving every owner the optimal driving position. The carbon fiber monocoque, a first in production cars. Back in 1992, carbon fiber was considered exotic race car material, not something you'd see in a road car. But the McLaren F1 changed that by becoming the first production car to feature a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. This wasn't just any carbon tub with steel subframes bolted on. The entire passenger cell was a single continuous carbon fiber structure. McLaren had to develop new techniques to bond the carbon layers, cure them at exact temperatures, and ensure that there were no defects. Even the smallest air bubble could compromise the entire structure. Each monocoque took weeks to produce and cost more than most complete cars. But the results were worth it. The carbon chassis weighed just 220 lb, yet it was stiffer than any steel or aluminum structure. This gave the F1 incredible handling precision and crash protection. In fact, during Namibian desert testing, a prototype was involved in a high-speed rollover. The car tumbled multiple times, shedding body panels and wheels. When the engineers arrived at the wreckage, they feared the worst. But to their surprise, the driver walked away with minimal injury. The carbon fiber monocoque had absorbed the massive forces without breaking. This was proof that carbon fiber could be used in road cars safely. Today, carbon construction is standard in modern hypercars, but it took the McLaren F1 to push the boundaries of what was possible. McLaren's boldness would inspire every supercar manufacturer to adopt carbon fiber for their own models. Gold foil heat shielding in the engine bay. When you open the engine cover of the McLaren F1, you're immediately struck by a strange sight: gold foil lining the engine compartment. At first, it might seem like some extravagant touch, but the truth is, it wasn't there for show. This gold foil had a practical purpose that was integral to the F1's design. McLaren engineers realized that the engine, especially the BMW V12, generated a lot of heat during high-performance driving. They calculated that gold was the best material for reflecting heat. It could bounce 98% of radiant heat away from the car's most critical components. The BMW V12 engine generated extreme heat, particularly from the exhaust headers that would glow cherry red under hard driving. Regular heat shielding would have added weight and still allowed some heat through, but gold was both lighter and more effective. Each F1 used about 16 grams of pure gold, which was hammered into sheets thinner than human hair. Technicians carefully applied the gold by hand, smoothing out every wrinkle to ensure maximum coverage. The gold foil protected the carbon fiber bodywork, the fuel lines, and the electronic components from heat damage. It also helped keep the engine bay cooler overall, which improved the car's reliability. But the gold didn't just stop there. The exhaust system used Inconel, a super alloy that costs more than silver per pound. The toolkit included titanium wrenches, and even the CD player had gold-plated connectors. The gold heat shielding, however, was the most functional use of the precious metal in the F1. McLaren could have used cheaper materials, but Gordon Murray insisted on the best possible solution, regardless of cost. BMW's bespoke V12 engine for the McLaren F1. The heart of the McLaren F1 was its engine, and it wasn't just any engine. BMW created the S72 V12 specifically for this car. Gordon Murray presented BMW with a challenge: build the ultimate naturally aspirated engine for a road car. The specs were crazy. At least 550 horsepower, less than 550 lbs of weight, and it had to fit into a compact space. BMW delivered an incredible engine. It produced 618 horsepower and 479 lb-ft of torque from a 6.1L naturally aspirated engine. The engine featured exotic materials throughout: titanium connecting rods, hollow camshafts, and cylinder throttle butterflies for instant response. The engine management system was so advanced that it required 2 separate computers to manage it. Here's the crazy part: BMW refused to put their badge on it. They felt it was too radical for their brand. So instead of BMW's iconic roundel, the engine covers simply said BMW Motorsport. Most owners didn't even know they had a BMW engine under the hood. Each engine was hand-assembled in a clean room by a single technician who personally signed their work. In total, BMW made about 100 engines, including spares. Each one took weeks to build and cost more than a complete BMW M5. No anti-lock brakes or power steering, by design. In an era when even the most basic economy cars were equipped with ABS, anti-lock braking systems, and power steering, Gordon Murray's decision to deliberately leave them off the McLaren F1 was considered shocking. But when you look deeper, it becomes clear that this choice was in line with his vision of creating a car that would deliver a raw, unfiltered driving experience. Murray believed that electronic driving aids like ABS and power steering only served to dilute the driving experience. For him, these systems added unnecessary complexity and weight. The McLaren F1 was meant to be the ultimate driver's car, where the driver could feel every detail of the road, every shift in weight, and every tiny movement of the car. It was about pure driving, without electronic intervention. The steering of the F1 was manual, with a rack and pinion setup, and the brakes, though massive Brembo discs with 6-piston calipers, offered no electronic assistance. The car demanded that the driver possess a level of skill and attention that no other modern supercar required. This decision made the F1 an extremely demanding car to drive for anyone unprepared. At low speeds, the steering required real muscle. The brakes demanded a smooth, progressive touch, with no ABS to prevent lockups. In fact, if you locked the brakes, it was your problem to solve, not the car's. For inexperienced drivers, this could be terrifying. But for skilled drivers, the reward was immense: unfiltered communication between car and driver. Every bump, every grain of grip, every weight transfer was transmitted directly to the driver's hands and feet, creating a level of connection with the road that modern supercars, with their electronic nannies, simply cannot match. Murray's decision to go without these features was controversial at the time. Many competitors, including the Jaguar XJ220, offered ABS as standard. Even Ferrari was adding electronic systems to their cars, but Murray stuck to his guns and created a pure driver's car, one that demanded skill, respect, and a deep understanding of manual driving. Today, collectors prize the F1 not only for its speed and craftsmanship, but because it represents the last of the analog supercars. It's a car that rewards skill and punishes the unskilled, and it will forever be remembered as a landmark in the evolution of driving. 240.1 mph, the fastest speed ever recorded by a production car. The McLaren F1 wasn't just fast, it was unbelievably fast. On March 31, 1998, Andy Wallace, the lead driver, was tasked with breaking the record for the world's fastest production car at Volkswagen's Erlesien test track in Germany. This was no ordinary run. McLaren had already raised the rev limiter to push the BMW V12 engine to its limits. The goal wasn't just to make a fast car, it was to create the ultimate driving machine, one that would be lightweight, precise, and uncompromising. Wallace accelerated the F1 to a GPS-verified top speed of 240.1 mph, setting a world record for the fastest production car ever built. But what was even more remarkable was that the car wasn't a stripped-down special edition or a prototype. This was a fully equipped production model with a full interior, air conditioning, and Goodyear road tires. The only modifications were the raised rev limit and the removal of the mirrors to reduce drag. At 240 mph, the McLaren F1 felt as planted as it did at lower speeds, with no wandering or instability. Andy Wallace later said that even at maximum velocity, the car felt controlled and secure, which is a testament to the precision engineering behind the F1. The record stood for 7 years until the Bugatti Veyron surpassed it in 2005. But here's the kicker. The Veyron needed 4 turbos and 1,000 horsepower to go just 13 mph faster. The McLaren F1 achieved its record with a naturally aspirated engine and half the cylinder count. And let's not forget, it weighed 1,700 lbs less than the Veyron. McLaren didn't set out to chase top speed records. The car was designed for total performance, not just straight-line velocity. The fact that it became the fastest production car was just a fortunate side effect of its lightweight design and track-ready performance. Even today, few cars can match the F1's 240 mph top speed, and none do it with the same graceful elegance. Active aerodynamics, a hidden innovation. The McLaren F1 may have looked clean and simple on the outside, but beneath its unassuming exterior, McLaren had integrated some of the most advanced active aerodynamics ever seen in a production car. At the heart of this system was the rear air brake, a feature that was both innovative and highly functional. The rear air brake deployed automatically when the car was hard on the brakes. This wasn't just a cosmetic feature. It was designed to reduce stopping distances by 30 feet from 200 mph and to help balance the car's pitch during braking. Without the air brake, the nose would dive dramatically, which would unload the rear wheels and make the car unstable. The air brake created downforce and kept all 4 tires working equally under high-speed braking. The air brake wasn't just functional, it could also be deployed manually, giving the driver another level of control. On the Autobahn, some F1 owners used the air brake to scrub off speed without burning through their brake discs. The system was reliable and used hydraulic actuators instead of complicated electronics. This simplicity made the system easy to maintain and durable over time. In addition to the air brake, McLaren's active aerodynamics included 2 electric fans that created ground effect downforce by sucking air from beneath the car, ensuring the F1 stayed glued to the road at high speeds. These fans kicked in automatically above 40 mph, further improving the F1's handling and stability. No other road car of the era had such a sophisticated aerodynamic management system. McLaren didn't just design the F1 to be fast. They designed it to be balanced, controlled, and precise, even at extreme speeds. The F1's active aerodynamics gave it an unfair advantage over its competitors, allowing it to remain planted and secure no matter the driving conditions. McLaren F1's audio system, a surprisingly light touch. It might seem strange to think that audio systems played a role in a supercar like the McLaren F1, but McLaren's approach to sound was both practical and unconventional. You'd think a $1 million supercar would come with a high-end sound system from brands like Bose or Bang & Olufsen. Instead, McLaren went with Kenwood, the company best known for affordable car stereos. The reason for this choice was simple. Gordon Murray wanted an excellent sound system that weighed as little as possible. Kenwood delivered a bespoke system that weighed just 17 lbs in total, an impressively low weight for any car, let alone a supercar. The head unit was a lightweight version of their high-end CD player, and the speakers featured neodymium magnets and carbon fiber cones to keep things light and sound excellent. Interestingly, Murray initially didn't want a radio in the F1 at all. He considered it an unnecessary distraction from the raw engine sound behind the driver. But, as with many decisions in the development of the F1, the marketing department had its way. They convinced him that millionaire customers would expect some tunes. As a result, the radio became an optional feature, and to this day, F1 owners continue to debate the wisdom of having a radio at all. Some buyers even opted to have their F1 delivered without a stereo, saving weight. These radio delete cars are now considered more valuable by collectors who appreciate the car's original minimalist design. Imagine owning a McLaren F1 and intentionally opting out of a radio. That's just the kind of obsession F1 owners have.
Every owner received a gold-plated FCOM toolkit. When you open the front trunk of a McLaren F1, you're met with something extraordinary. A complete toolkit crafted from gold-plated titanium tools. This wasn't just a token gesture from McLaren. This was attention to detail and obsessive craftsmanship taken to another level. McLaren commissioned Fume, a French tool specialist, to create these bespoke implements, each made from aerospace-grade titanium, then plated with gold for corrosion resistance. The kit included everything necessary for basic maintenance: wrenches sized specifically for F1 fasteners, screwdrivers with magnetic tips, pliers with cushion grips, and even a titanium tire pressure gauge. The tools were stored in a carbon fiber case, carefully designed to fit into a special compartment within the car. But it gets even weirder. The toolkit also included a first aid kit, complete with bandages infused with silver for its antibacterial properties. There was also a leather document holder containing the owner's manual, which was printed on special paper that wouldn't fade. Even the warning triangle was carbon fiber, not plastic. The entire kit weighed just 8 pounds, but it cost more than a new Honda Civic. Some owners never touched these tools, leaving them pristine and preserving their collector's value. Others, however, used them for maintenance, almost as if they were performing a kind of sacrilege. Imagine changing a tire with tools that are worth more than most people's cars. The McLaren F1's attention to detail was so obsessive that it extended even to the tools that came with the car, proving that nothing was overlooked in this engineering marvel. Tag Heuer created special watches for F1 owners, as if owning a McLaren F1 wasn't exclusive enough. Each buyer received a Tag Heuer 6000 series chronometer specially made for them. This wasn't just any off-the-shelf watch with an F1 logo slapped on. Tag Heuer created unique pieces with the owner's name and the car's chassis number engraved on the back. The watches featured titanium cases designed to match the F1's lightweight philosophy and a dial that included subtle design elements such as the speedometer font and a center-mounted crown, echoing the car's central driving position. The watches were regulated to chronometer standards, ensuring they were accurate to within seconds per day. The watches came in miniature carbon fiber cases, mirroring the carbon monocoque construction of the F1. The presentation box itself came with a certificate, signed by Ron Dennis and Gordon Murray, adding even more exclusivity to an already exclusive car. The Tag Heuer F1 watches became a symbol of the car's luxury and performance, and over time, they became collectible items. Today, F1 watches can fetch up to $50,000 when they rarely appear at auction, adding yet another layer to the McLaren F1's legendary status. F1 owners became part of an exclusive club recognized not just by the car they drove, but by the watches on their wrists. Steering and pedals were custom fitted to each owner. Here's something that sounds impossible in today's world of adjustable steering columns and electronic seat memory. Each McLaren F1 was custom fitted to its owner's body. Before delivery, customers would visit McLaren's factory in Woking, where they would undergo a fitting session. McLaren's technicians would adjust the steering column angle, pedal positions, and seat mounting points to precisely match the owner's body dimensions. This wasn't a quick process. Customers would sit in a special jig, and the technicians would measure their arm length, leg reach, and torso angle. After making adjustments, they'd have the owner test drive the stationary setup. If necessary, further adjustments were made to ensure that every owner would have the optimal driving position. Once set, these adjustments were fixed. There was no easy way to change them after the car was built. So, if a new owner bought a second-hand F1, they'd either have to live with the previous owner's settings or pay McLaren to refit the car to their body. This created unique challenges for owners when buying used F1 South, especially those with extreme heights. Imagine finding your dream car only to discover that you couldn't fit into it comfortably. In today's world of electronic adjustments for everything, this seems like an impossible process. Yet, Gordon Murray believed that fixed controls provided better feedback to the driver. The slight weight savings were significant for a car where every ounce mattered. McLaren's obsessive attention to detail ensured that each car was perfectly fitted to its owner, enhancing the driving experience to an almost spiritual level. Ultra-lightweight aluminum flywheel for instant throttle response 1. Of the most brilliant yet hidden features of the McLaren F1 was its ultra-lightweight flywheel. While most road cars use heavy steel flywheels to smooth out engine pulses, Gordon Murray insisted on something different. He commissioned a solid aluminum flywheel machined to the absolute minimum mass required to keep the engine running smoothly. This flywheel weighed just 11 pounds compared to the usual 30 pounds of a conventional steel flywheel. This reduction in rotating mass transformed the F1's engine response. With the press of the throttle, the BMW V12 engine would scream to redline instantly. Release the throttle, and the engine would drop equally fast, giving the car an incredibly responsive and reactive nature. This feature, though, wasn't without its challenges. The lightweight flywheel made smooth launches difficult, and the clutch engagement window became razor-earthing. Stalling the engine became a real problem for inexperienced drivers, as the engine would stop completely instead of trying to keep running like most other cars. In city traffic, it required constant attention to avoid embarrassing stalls at stoplights. Despite initial resistance from BMW engineers, who argued that the light flywheel would create vibrations and make the engine difficult to manage, Murray insisted on it. The result was a truly instantaneous throttle response that made the F1 feel more like a motorcycle than a car. When F1 GTRS competed in the Le Mans 24 Hours, the lightweight flywheel and instant throttle response gave them an advantage, allowing them to accelerate out of corners faster than competitors. Every F1 came with a built-in modem for remote diagnostics in a time when the internet was in its infancy, and most people didn't even have internet access at home. Every McLaren F1 came equipped with a built-in modem. This wasn't an optional feature, was hardwired into the car's electronics from day one. McLaren could actually dial into your car remotely, connecting directly to the car's onboard system through the phone line to perform diagnostics. Owners would park the car in their garage, plug a phone cable into a hidden port, and call McLaren's remote diagnostic system. Technicians at McLaren's factory in Woking could connect remotely, check fault codes, download engine data, and even adjust certain parameters without the need to take the car to the dealership. This was revolutionary in the early 1990s and put McLaren far ahead of the competition. While Ferrari and Lamborghini owners had to trailer their cars to dealers for basic diagnostics, McLaren F1 owners could simply dial in and fix issues from the comfort of their homes. But it gets even stranger. McLaren still uses 20-year-old laptops to perform these diagnostics. These old compact LTE 5280 laptops running custom-due software are essential for working on the F1's electronics because modern machines simply can't interface with the F1's original systems. McLaren has to scour eBay to find working computers, keeping these ancient devices running to keep the million-dollar cars in good condition. Development mules. Ultima kit cars test the F1 components. Before McLaren built the first prototype F1 South, they needed something cheap and disposable to test the car's components. Their solution to Ultima Mk2 kit cars, these fiberglass-bodied mules were used to test the drivetrain and chassis before putting their expensive prototypes on the line. They used the Ultimas to test the BMW V12 engine, the suspension, and even the F1's revolutionary three-seat configuration. The mules, nicknamed Albert and Edward, were crashed, rebuilt, and tested relentlessly. helping McLaren gather valuable data while keeping their prototypes safe. These two mules provided McLaren with insights on drivetrain testing and aerodynamics and were instrumental in the car's development. They also gave McLaren engineers the ability to experiment without risking the car's core design. Today, these mules are part of McLaren's heritage collection, showing just how much thought, effort, and practicality went into the creation of the F1. It's ironic that a $1 million supercar was tested with kit cars. But that's the kind of genius practicality Gordon Murray employed to keep costs down and speed up development.